Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365, Cubs are just sleepwalking in Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Brewers are creeping even closer in the division. We're talking about that, plus injuries, trade targets, and more. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places. And Bet365, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use the code CHGO365 at sign-up. The Cubs lose 4-2 to the Twins. And once again, the offense missing in action in Minnesota. It was so bad, we need a three-headed monster for the therapy session. Luke Stuckmeyer, Joey Christopoulos, and Kevin Wells. Sarah running the ones and twos. So really, four of us here for the therapy session. And all of you in the live YouTube chat here at the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right now, like it, and tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a total stranger. That's what I say. We see a lot of the regulars already in there. Vanilla Chill, Jay Grizz.
Becky said, F this team. It's salty early.
It's very salty, and I think it's getting even saltier because of what the Brewers are doing. And when they sweep the Dodgers today, and you come into this and you deliver the game you did again tonight, fans are going to be upset, and some are concerned, and there's probably reason for a little bit of both. I mean, just on the offense, before we get to the Brewers, you're talking about 4 hits tonight, really 4 hits last night going into the 9th inning, and then Justin Turner hits the, meaningful to him but meaningful to nobody else because the game was over. They've realistically had 8 hits in 2 games. Mm-hmm. And the only runs they scored today were on a ground ball to third that was probably an infield hit. I'll give you that, but it wasn't like it was ripped into the corner. And then on a fielder's choice. Like, what happened?
Yeah, good old-fashioned trap series maybe, but, man, this is really pitiful showing these last 2 nights, man. I mean, you're not playing good pitching. The Twins really don't do anything that is super impressive, especially when it comes to their pitching staff. Their bullpen is They don't walk a lot of guys. That is their calling card. That's what they hang their hat on. But, man, this was a 2-run game most of the game, and you flat out just showed no – I don't know. It was just a flat, boring game. I mean, there was no emphasis on trying to get base runners. You took 2 walks again tonight. I mean, what did we say a couple nights ago? Walks is the key to this team scoring runs when you're not hitting home runs.
Yeah.
No homers tonight, 2 walks, a bunch of strikeouts from the guys batting 1 through 4 in your lineup. You can't do that against guys like David Festa and Simeon Woods Richardson.
Well, that's one of the things.
I mean, you can't lose those games.
Who? Festa, Varland.
Right.
I had
Woods
a
Richardson.
Festa. It was a cheap soda at one time, wasn't it?
Couldn't you get those from Menards, right?
Oh,
Festa?
yeah. I mean, it was Fanta.
Or no, it was
it was 11% off.
I was thinking of Shasta.
There was Shasta, Fresca, and Fanta. All 3 were cheap sodas that you could get at a bowling alley if you wanted.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, one of the common laments you'll sometimes have when a Cubs offense is sputtering is, well, we'll talk about runners with scoring position, right? And we couldn't drive in the big run. We couldn't find the big hit. The last 90 minutes of this game was nothing. They couldn't generate anything. They didn't barrel up the baseball very well at all. The last 2 days now, as you said, the Twins don't walk a lot of guys. The Cubs are known for taking a lot of pitches and grinding down hitters, so they're maybe jumping a little bit ahead in these counts at times. And, man, this is just tough because these are like the slings and arrows of a baseball season. They pound the Cardinals' head in and hit home run after home run all 4th of July, and then the lights go out these last 2 days. And we're going to get into it, Luke, but that's like the thing that gets a little scary, right, is we're like on the doorstep of the All-Star break. We're ready to like look back and reflect on what a great first half the Cubs have had. But if they're not careful in the next 4 or 5 days, what does this division lead look like?
Yeah, Gary hates in the live YouTube chat, our friend Gary hates the kind of aggressive approach they've had. And JD talked about it last night. They did have 5 walks last night, but they were uber aggressive at the plate. Swinging first pitch, you had Nico swinging at one that almost hit him in the crotch.
Yeah.
Popped it up. Then Shaw sits tonight. Tonight they get no walks and they get almost no offense. So is it becoming concerning? It's just, listen, you're going to, I fully understand that this is 2 games in a group of 162 and you're going to have some duds. But their timing isn't great with the way the Brewers are starting to show real signs of life. You sweep the Dodgers, right? And it is so frustrating to watch them do exactly what you said. Hit 8 home runs against the Cardinals, then score 10 runs with just 1 home run.
Spread it out, boys.
This offense does it every way. They're so good that it's not going away. And then when you get this against the Twins, I don't know if it's a trap game. I don't know if guys are thinking about going and relaxing on a beach for a few days before the All-Star. I hope not, but it sure looks like guys are making plans for the All-Star break.
It certainly feels like they're looking ahead to this Yankees series too over the weekend. It certainly looks like they completely overlooked this Twins team who sits under 500. And quite frankly, another thing that's frustrating about a loss tonight is when you look at the Twins lineup, there's just no one that really sparks a ton of fear in you. You know, Royce Lewis is injured and having a down year. Correa's having an okay year, but the power's not there for him this year. Their best player gets hit in the hand and leaves the game in the second inning, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, he's a big factor in how they score runs, manufacture runs, and he's out of the game. And then all of a sudden, there's still no emphasis on, hey, maybe we caught a break here. Let's try to win a ball game. It just felt like the whole game was just boring. I mean, they didn't hit anything. I'm looking at Baseball Savant right now. 5 hits over 100 miles an hour for the Cubs in this game. 5.
Yeah, not a lot of barrels in this game,
guys.
And not to interject, just really quickly, just to your point is, let's not forget either, and we're going to get to him a little bit later in the show, but Porter Hodge blew up in that game last night. You know, if you get a normal bullpen performance really from anybody else, that's still what, like a 2-0 game?
Yeah.
3-0 game?
It was 2-0 going.
So, I mean, these games have been sitting there to be had if you have some sort of version of competent offense, and it just hasn't shown up. I mean, I hate to use the word lifeless, but that's what the last 48 hours of this Cubs offense has been. It's been pretty lifeless.
Yeah, you still had, I mean, 9th inning, you had a chance. I said, PCA, get on. Somebody hit a home run, steal this game when you have no business. But I go back in this game to just the Twins basically doing what the Cubs did to the Cardinals, getting them to throw to second. Guy takes off from third. You get a cheap run. They're willing to sacrifice it. Why? Because they're looking at the same Cubs offense that you are. They know that 1 run is like 5 runs tonight, right? Mm-hmm. So when they went from a 1-run game from 3-2 to 4-2, realistically, I had kind of cashed out. I knew I could start working on the rundown. They're not scoring runs. I hoped. I can wish and hope, but it just didn't seem like they were going to do it. So I ask, where is I don't want to call it the panic button, but where's the Cubby concern meter at, knowing that the Brewers swept the Dodgers and Woodruff is back and the Miz is pitching, and they have Peralta. And I asked Cody, I said, who's got the best starting pitching? Do they have the best 1, 2, 3? Yes, but I think the Cubs could be in that conversation if you make the trade for the right guy. Where's your Cubby concern level, knowing that the lead is down to 1.5 games?
Let's keep it on a scale of 10, right?
10 is I'm terrified.
Yeah, 10 is I'm terrified. 1 is we're winning the World Series and we're not gonna lose a game the rest of the year. So I'm probably gonna come somewhere in between like 4.27, maybe like a 3.9. Like
that's still pretty low.
I think it is pretty low, and I think they deserve a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Right? I think what is going on is, let's see how this weekend series goes against the Yankees with that short porch. If they start hitting balls over the yard again, they win a couple of games 9-5, I think we're going to feel completely differently in about 48 to 72 hours. The other thing, though, to keep in mind is, as we head into the All-Star break, where I do have concern is there are some legitimate concerns about certain aspects of the lineup. Let's start first at third base. Matt Shaw got the night off tonight. We all know that rookies have their ups and downs, but the dude is stuck in a 1 for 21 right now. He's hitting 145 over his last 50 plate appearances. This is an issue that I don't think over the long term I'm super concerned about, but if you have high hopes for the here and the now in this season, I think this is becoming a legitimate concern about the Cubs may have to do something, as I'm saying, outside the organization, a dude who you've been talking about a lot, and they might have to go out, and now it isn't just about pitching, but they really might have to add, if it isn't Suarez, it still might have to be somebody. Ian Happ got hot for a week or so. He's come back to earth a little bit. Is he having the type of Ian Happ season that he's normally had? No, he hasn't. He's a good player in August. But there are some things about this offense and this lineup that I do think are issue-worthy, that do have me at a 3.9 concerned.
It's funny because what has you concerned is a bit of a roller coaster ride.
Sure.
One night, we're all sitting here like, oh, man, they need a couple more bullpen guys. And then the next night, you look at it and you go, they
need another bat.
They need 2 starters. Then you look at it. One night, they score 10 runs. You're like, one thing we can count on is the offense. You might be all outside. And then you get games like this. And part of it we have to – I'm not telling you how to Cub, but we do have to do a reality check on ourselves a little bit. It is baseball. Mm-hmm. Like, this does happen.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That doesn't mean that I haven't become – it's not a Cubby concern level for me. What it's more like it's an uncomfy level. I'm getting a little more uncomfy. The shirt's getting a little tight around the collar.
You're liking the twos. You're liking the twos on the Cubby concern.
But maybe. I was at a 0 a week ago.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask you was where were you during the Mariners series and the Astros series? 2 series the Cubs lost.
Yeah.
It seemed like the sky was falling, according to Cubs Twitter. And where were you on those series?
I was much lower. I was like 0-1. It didn't bother me because I've seen them beat some good teams earlier in the season. You go through the flow. If the worst thing that happens to you is you go 500 in the month of June and you don't have Steele and you didn't have Shota and a lot of these, and Shaw had to go back and forth, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting more concerned. The Brewers are becoming more concerning than the Cubs' struggles to me. Does that make sense?
That's fair.
As Cody likes to call it, their devil's magic or their devil's potion, whatever they have,
their
they've
voodoo
taken
brew
it from the Cardinals and they've got it. Somehow, every year, they come around, and now you see their pitching starting to really become dangerous. And so, in addition to the way the Cubs kind of roller coaster it right now, and the way the Brewers seem to be beating some pretty good teams and looking more dangerous, even though I went and looked right before this, it was like last 10 games, both teams 6-4.
Right. The Brewers are 29-12 in their last 41 games, though. So they've started to cool off a little bit, and then they go and sweep the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So if you want to know where my concern is, the concern is a lot higher than it was against the Mariners series. Because the Mariners have a guy named, Cal Raleigh, and 3 really good starting pitchers. You didn't face a couple of them, but you did face 1 or 2 of them, I believe. I can't. I'd have to go back and look at the box scores. But the Astros are a World Series contender. You losing 2 out of 3 to them at home, no big deal. Losing 2 out of 3 to the Minnesota Twins, it's not good. And you didn't face Joe Ryan, who is their all-star and one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. And you kept these games close, and I think that's the more concerning part, right, is these games were so close, and you just, offensively, you didn't change your approach. It was just, like Gary said and like you said earlier, it was just go, 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 attack, 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 2 nights in a row, and that has not worked. So when it gets in these later innings and you're still only trailing by 2 runs and the game is there to be had and nothing changes, that's where my concern level starts to rise. And the sky is not falling. I said that 2 weeks ago. The sky is still not falling. But, man, losing series to teams under 500, especially in a time where the Brewers are streaking, it's you're right. That makes the shirt collar tighter. And quite frankly, the Cubs are so much better than the Twins. I mean, that's the it's more frustration to me than concern, I think, at this point. I think you can probably hear that in my voice right now. It's just that you gotta win these series, period. You got to find ways to win these series. You can't have back-to-back clunkers like this.
All right. Tell us in the chat what you think. How do they fix some of their flaws moving forward, the Cubs? We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365 to deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. They also have the MLB early payout offer. So here's what you do. You go to Bet365 early payout. The offer, if you're a winner, if your team goes up 5 runs, there is an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. So download the app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. That's right, breaking news from 365. New customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. So sign up, use that code CHGO365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. It can be on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Must be 21 plus if you're someone or you know someone that has a gambling problem. Make sure you call Crisis Counseling and Referral Services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in Apple Lane.
Baseball fans, if you're thinking about upgrading your drive, Toyota's 2025 lineup is worth a look. There's the RAV4, versatile, reliable, and ready for adventure. Grand Highlander, plenty of room, super comfortable. Great for families, of course. Looking for efficiency, the Corolla's got you covered. It's smart and stylish and easy on gas. You need something tougher, don't forget the Tacoma. And finally, the Camry, sleek and packed with performance. Summer starts here, so visit your local dealer and find your deal today. You can check out the full lineup at Toyota.com or stop by your local Chicagoland Toyota dealership. Toyota, let's go places. Great time to be a CHGO diehard. Sign up right now. Get access to our exclusive written content, free t-shirt, lots of discounts on merch and events, plus the CHGO Discord Lounge and the CHGO diehard card. Join all the people already in our community. We are thousands of people. Make sure you join them, and we'll have fun. All right, Cubs lose 4-2. They're going to lose this series to Minnesota. We're trying to fix some of their flaws, but first it is our Taking the Temp segment. Your trusted local experts, Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. What is your temp check on one Cade Horton? The Cubs rookie with 4 2/3 innings tonight, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. What did you think of Cade Horton, and what do you think of Cade Horton right now?
He's just been so middle of the road, and that's okay for a guy in his first season in the big leagues. I thought tonight was fine. It was fine. It wasn't outstanding. He's still pitching to contact. He's not getting a ton of strikeouts. I will say his numbers, he's now made 11 starts, so we can really start to look. The sample size is there.
That's fair.
To now look at Cade Horton and say, okay, what kind of year are you having? A lot of hits, not a lot of walks. I'll give him that. 62 hits, 18 walks, but the ERA is high, and quite frankly, it's just not there. There's not enough strikeouts in there for me to look at Cade Horton and say, man, he's really going to help the Cubs get to that next level this year. That could change. He's a young pitcher. We don't know. I think, and this comes down to injuries, right? We wouldn't be having these in-depth conversations about, oh, my God, Cade Horton's a linchpin for this rotation had guys not been injured this year at Steele, not been hurt at Shota, not missed a month. But it's hard not to look at Cade Horton and then look at the other rookie pitchers and young pitchers in this division, man, because that's the difference right now. The Cubs are leading the division because their offense is otherworldly. But right now, Jacob Mizorowski looks like the next
Randy Johnson.
Yeah. You got Paul Skeens, you got Nick Lodolo, you got, I mean, Chase Burns has kind of struggled since he comes up, but he's going to look pretty good. The Cubs right now look like they don't have a rookie pitcher who can compete on the level of these other young pitchers. And that's just the start of the year, and I think that's right now the difference in why the Brewers are starting to win all these games, because they're getting Jacob Mizorowski's coming up. He's giving them a chance to win every game. And Cade Horton wasn't bad tonight. He hasn't had a ton of bad blow-up games. There's been maybe 3 that have been like, ugh, bad starts, throw them away. Tonight wasn't one of those starts, but with where they are and the lack of pitching depth that they have at the moment in the starting rotation, you need him to be a lot better. And I know that's asking a lot of a young pitcher, but my temperature on him is, I expected more, I'll say that.
It's been fascinating, right, where if you roll the clocks back to last year, I think Craig Counsell showed a lot of patience with guys like Miguel Amaya and Pete Crow-Armstrong. And this year we're trying to do the same thing in theory in a different way with Cade Horton and guys like Matt Shaw. But the difference is we're in a division race and maybe even in a pennant race. And I have to agree with you, Kevin. I mean, he's still, I think he touched 97.7 on the gun. He was still the fastest. He had the highest velocity, I think, of anybody out there tonight.
And the breaking stuff was really good in the first couple innings.
And the stuff is good, and yet,
really good.
And yet the frustrating part is that separating factor that makes Mizorowski already almost a national name, or at least in the baseball landscape, everybody's talking about this kid, is that Cade Horton is suffering from the same issues that a lot of rookie pitchers deal with, is he can't get through that 4th inning. And it isn't like, sometimes you're like, well, the second time a guy comes around or the third time he can't get – it's happening in different parts of the game for Cade Horton right now. It's a little bit of an execution issue. I do like that he has kept the walks down for the most part. But again, 2 starts ago, I think he gave up 7 runs, backs it up with 7 shutout innings. I kind of walked into this one thinking we were going to see a little bit closer of the 7 shutout inning Cade Horton. And instead, we got a little bit more of that rookie mix right now. I think through 11 starts, he's given up 3 or more runs in 5 of them. It's kind of what you expect from a rookie, but again, with this Cubs season and the way it's been trending, we naturally are expecting more.
We want instant gratification.
Yep.
Sports fans, Americans, people, that's what we want now, right? We want everything, and we want it now, and we want it cheap, and we want it here. And I was, too, hoping that, hey, 7 shutout against the Guardians?
Let's get on
That's
a
the
roll.
guy. All right, let's take that.
Yeah.
Maybe, all right, that we could do that. But realistically, and I agree with what Kevin's saying, you look around the rest of the division, and everybody has these super aces, and you're like, hey, he's our top pitching prospect. What if he came in and did the same thing? Maybe it's going to take a little time. Maybe he's not on the same level as those guys. We're going to find out over the next couple of years. I like what he's made up of. I like his stuff, right? And I've said all along that if they could add the right arms in the rotation, and I know Cody has too, and we all have, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the bullpen in important games. Right now, would I want to see Cade Horton starting a playoff game? Makes me uncomfortable.
And to be clear, this is not, don't take this and run with it and say, oh, Kevin thinks Cade Horton's bad, because I don't. I'm not. I had higher expectations for him to start the year because my expectations have been raised based on the other baseball I've seen from the division, young guys coming in and immediately impacting the game. But the other part of my brain says, hang on, wait a minute. That's just not how baseball works, especially with young players. I mean, this game is hard. It takes a while to get used to it. It's just hard not to look at other young pitchers in the division and be like, man, I really wish Cade Horton was like
a little envious.
That guy. Yeah. And this game was not on Cade Horton at all. Let me just flat out say that. This offense just was flat tonight. It didn't have anything. Cade Horton gave them a chance to win this game tonight. I think that first inning gets to 2 outs and allows a hot smash up the line, and that's your ball game in the first inning. With the way this Cubs offense has played this year, saying that sentence I just said, that was your ball game in the first inning, that should never happen.
Flush it.
Right.
Yeah, the Horton thing is we should go back and look at other guys. We sort of did it with Shaw, and we've talked about it, but think about PCA's first appearances in Major League Baseball. First year, start of the second year, then he finally started to turn around last year. A lot of people were giving up. Good thing we didn't, because now we have a guy that's looking like one of the most electric players in baseball. So for anybody that I see a lot of the DFA stuff in the chat and on Twitter. First of all, I don't think we all fully understand DFA, but you're not cutting loose your top pitching guy. Real quick, I'm going to get to you in a second, Joey. We do have a Toyota Super Chat from our man Steven. Horton can't seem to get guys and always puts himself in a hole. unreliable. I worry Hap is starting to decline already.
All right.
Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the
fair.
super
Yeah,
chat.
I've seen Steven
It's
in the
fair.
chat too. Thanks, good to see you, man. Thanks for jumping in with the super chat, and I think it's a fair assessment. The other part about it too is that I'm still very optimistic about Cade Horton's future. I think on a macro level, Jed Hoyer said it recently, but you and Cody were talking about it long before that. Is that maybe on a macro level, Cade Horton can't throw 200 innings this year. It isn't going to happen. They said maybe 120 is the cap. They've had some concerns with Matthew Boyd, who's going to be an all-star next year. I think they're going to push forward on him because he's a veteran.
Yep.
But again, it just sort of brings up, as we head towards the all-star break, this inventory list that Jed Hoyer may need to go out and acquire, and maybe growing a little bit as the days go on. And I'm not trying to say that it's because the Cubs have a ton of holes, but maybe it's also shining a little bit of a light on some minor shortcomings, or if you do want to be a World Series type of contender, that doesn't necessarily mean Cade Horton needs to be your Game 3 starter in October. He is contributing now. Maybe he's your Game 3 starter in 2026 and 27 and 28. So I'm not going to flip out and say Cade Horton is, he probably can be considered unreliable right now, but he's a rookie, and that should be, I think that should be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt, and maybe adds a little bit more to what Jed needs to look at outside the organization moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's that you said that really perfectly there. I think unreliable is way too harsh of a term to throw at Cade Horton, right? Like, we can't do that yet.
That's not fair.
That's way too, that'd be way unfair, because I do think there is stuff that plays in his repertoire. There is. I mean, the breaking stuff tonight, you got a glimpse of it. The strikeouts he had were on the slider, and they were really effective. I mean, you got some really ugly swings and kept hitters off balance. And you did go 7 shutout innings against an offense that, the Guardians aren't a very good baseball team, but they have a couple guys who can really swing it. And you go 7 innings against any MLB team. That's impressive with no runs. So there's things to like about Cade Horton. I think he's being put in an unfair situation now, especially magnified by the Tyone injury. The Cubs are relying on him until they go out and trade for starting pitching, which all of the national pundits have said, well, there might not be a lot of starting pitching available.
Yeah.
So Cade Horton's being thrown into an unfair situation like, hey, man, we got a great offense. You better be really great because we need to make the playoffs this year, and right now you are a healthy arm, and we expect a lot more of you. And that might not be fair, but I think that's where things sit as of, July 9th.
He's not unreliable for a rookie pitcher, even as a top pitching prospect in your organization.
Is he reliably unreliable because he's a rookie?
Could you label him as unreliable as a number 3 starter on a team that's trying to win the pennant? Yeah, that's unfair, but life is unfair. That's the situation he's in right now. Maybe it's going to make him a better pitcher moving forward, but like I said, would I want him starting Game 3 of a playoff series? No. That's why they have some work to do here. They got a couple weeks to figure some things out, and even if pitchers aren't available, you better find a way to make some guys available.
And
you
I
better
will
talk
mention
some teams into it.
The first inning there were those 2-run score with 2 outs. Matt Shaw gets the day off today. Does he make that play? There's another thing to think about, right? Like, yeah, the ball wasn't hit. It was hit not on the nose, but it was hit hard enough to get through there. It wasn't a cheap hit,
right?
Cheap double to score a run there. To score Buxton from second. I mean, does that get you out of the inning though? Like, let's think about it. There's a lot of things. He's pitching to contact, which is gonna happen. He's not getting a ton of strikeouts. Those aren't, they're not inflated yet. Hopefully he gets to that point. But it seems like we're talking about issues every night that kind of lead into the same thing, right? Like okay, the ball tends to find your weakest defensive player on the field. John Birdie, clearly the weakest defender on the field, finds him in that moment. But again, it's one run. That shouldn't decide the game. Buxton's one of the best base runners in the game. Of course he's going to score on that. You can't blame Seiya for the throw in. I think, and that's just looking at this thing really closely and magnifying it probably too much.
You know who makes that play? Christopher Morel. No, I'm kidding.
Full circle
Don't
moment.
start with me, Luke.
We're
Just
going
wait
to
till
talk.
he's an all-star.
I see people want more guys DFA'd again. We'll talk more about
We
the
will DFA them
possibilities
all.
for fixing some things. We're going to talk about Porter Hodges' injury. We'll talk about Shaw and more. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey everybody, Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. That's because Sunnyside is everything that you need to elevate your summer. And what are some of the amazing features? Oh, I don't know. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an excellent, expertly curated menu, and if you're starting off for the first time, they got bud tenders there that are going to give you the guidance to find what you love, like something like, I don't know, a little Good News or something a little called Mindy's. So if you're a pro, we've also got you covered with 100 strains on the menu, and the new ones are added daily. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. You just enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. For existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
Ask any Chicagoan, what's the best summer weekend that you could experience? 9 out of 10 times they're going to say Windy City Smokeout. Guess what? It's back July 10th through the 13th. We're talking 4 full days of country music, ice cold drinks, and award-winning barbecue. Can you handle all that? I don't know. Does it get more summer than that? Seriously, though, nothing beats an outdoor concert in July. If you haven't grabbed your tickets, Thursday and Friday still available. Biggest stars in country like Bailey Zimmerman, Old Dominion, Dylan Gossett, who are all going to be lighting up the stage. CHGO will have a booth on Thursday, so make sure you stop by and say, hey, what up? I heard Greg Braggs is going to be there, and word is, if you say, hey, Greg Braggs, I love CHGO, he'd probably buy you a drink.
I bet you we would.
He's that kind of
Try it
baller.
out.
Don't miss out on the best weekend of the summer. Grab your Thursday and Friday tickets now at WindyCitySmokeout.com. I'm telling you again, Smoke Barbecue, SMOQUE. You can't go wrong on the brisket. All right, Cubs lose 4-2 to the Twins. They're going to lose that series. And we're trying to figure out, all right, should we be concerned about this team? The Brewers have cut the division lead to 1.5. We're getting close to the All-Star break. We're getting closer to the trade deadline at the end of the month. And right now, I'd say if I looked at our live YouTube chat, I would say the world was ending, potentially. And everybody's been DFA'd. Pretty soon they're going to DFA me before this show is over. I'm just curious, and I've asked Cody this, and we kind of go back and forth over the days. What is your wish list? And kind of talk realistically about it. Like they need 2 starters, and they need an ace closer, and I wouldn't mind another guy in the pen, and I'd like an all-star third baseman, and I'd like,
And a Diet Coke, please.
Let's all slow down a little bit. But what realistically, and how does it change each and every day? Like Matt Shaw was off today. Some people think Matt Shaw's serviceable enough defensively at third that the offense can be good enough and you can deal with that. Some people think the bullpen needs a closer, and now you have something like Porter Hodge, who was, he was great at the beginning of the year. Then he had a stretch before he went on the injured list, not great. Then he goes on the injured list. Then he comes back. He's had 3 injuries, is that right? Oblique was the last one, but prior to that it was
something lower body, wasn't it? I know that.
Was it calf, hamstring? We've had oblique, and now we have the shoulder injury. And a lot of people were talking, including Gary, about how his velocity was down last night. He gave up 6 runs before he was taken out of the game and didn't get out a single out. Where does bullpen fit into the mix? And it's, are you concerned about Porter Hodge? Because when I kept thinking, well, Porter Hodge is coming back, and I got Palencia, and I've got Hodge, and Presley, actually, if you take out one bad game, has been pretty darn good this year. You got Drew Pomeranz, who doesn't give up runs. You got Flexen. You got Brad Keller, who just had that one bad game, but before that was. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not overly concerned about the bullpen. Sure, they could add another. You can always add arms, but that was moving lower down my list, and the third base was down the list. Do I still believe starter? Yeah, starter is unquestionably their biggest need. But are there more holes popping up in the bucket each and every day, in your opinion?
I don't know if there's more popping up. I just think they're getting magnified, is how I would put it, because the holes are the holes, right? You need a third baseman. I know we're all excited about Matt Shaw or Ward to start the year, and I still am. I like Matt Shaw as a ball player a lot. I think he's played Gold Glove level defense at third this year. And I don't say that lightly. I genuinely think he should be in the running for Gold Glove as a third baseman in the National League this year. That being said, you can't continue to put a guy out there with an 8 WRC plus. So, yeah, obviously you're going to need starting pitching. You're going to need a couple of them because of the injuries. We knew that a week into the year, that you can never have enough starting pitching. We knew that in the offseason. I mean, but third base has become a huge hole. And quite frankly, the Cubs are at this place where they're going to need to go get a big player there, and there's not a lot of them available. So I think that's probably the biggest thing aside from a starting pitcher for me.
You're willing to sacrifice some of the defense for more offense at third.
I think at this point you have to, because you have the best offense in the league. You've scored the most runs in the league. You were near the top of the league, I think still are, in walks. So you're doing a lot of the things the right way, but make a strength an even bigger strength, right? And what's going to be available at the deadline. We keep hearing that there's just not going to be the ace level pitcher available at the deadline. The Cubs could get creative and find a guy like that, but if you can't, you better make your offense bulletproof. And right now, Matt Shaw has just not. It's been a really rough go for him, and again, nobody's given up on Matt Shaw. It's been a rough go, and with where they are and with where the Brewers are playing, and if you want to make the playoffs, especially with how strong the National League is, you got to get better there. But the biggest thing at the top of my list, aside from a third baseman, which is now clearly the number 2 for me, a pitcher at the top of the rotation that generates a ton of strikeouts. The Cubs just don't strike enough people out for me. They're near the bottom of the league in strikeouts, but they're also near the bottom of the league in walks. So, that's the type of player that they've targeted and they've honed in on, and they've done a really good job of cornering that market. But I need a little bit of a dichotomy in the rotation. I need a dominant swing and miss guy that takes the pressure off your defense just for a night, once a week. They need that desperately.
I brought up Mackenzie Gore last night, and we were talking about, what would you give up if he were to be made available? You'd probably have to make a pretty strong offer to say, we want this guy. And I threw out the theory that, they just fired their GM and their manager, a new guy's there. He's just hanging around. Maybe he's a little more willing to make some deals. What does he care? What would you give up for me? Is Jackson Wiggins somebody else too much? Is swapping Horton and somebody for Mackenzie Gore too much? Too soon?
No. If the Nationals are dumb enough to make Mackenzie Gore available, no, there's no one player on the Cubs. There's no one prospect on the Cubs, and including Matt Shaw, in that I wouldn't entertain for a guy of that caliber, because Mackenzie Gore is he's the future superstar pitcher, one of the future superstar pitchers in baseball. He is excellent, but also I don't think the Nationals are gonna. That's the type of trade where you would be gutting your farm system for a guy like that, because he has the control and he's young, hasn't really wavered this year. Has really shown you now. This is his last year. He was a starter, but this has been his first. Will be his first full season as a starter. I mean, the dude's been excellent. So
you'd have to give up a lot, no question about it.
If the price started at Cade Horton, I mean, that's certainly a conversation to have.
And then some of those top 100 guys probably too.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 of those guys too. While they're at, look, I mean, when we talked about it, and Cade Horton, who I enjoy as a prospect, and I think he has a bright future. Mackenzie Gore is a little more ready-made, right? And this team is a little more ready-made right now. So in the moment, it seems to make sense. Former centerpiece, right? One of the centerpieces of the Juan Soto deal, right?
Yes.
He officially was a Padre.
Yes.
So when you ask that question, I'm trying to think of where my power ranking priorities are right now. And of course, number one, this whole time has been ace pitcher. We've thrown all the names out. And we've DFA'd all the hypotheticals of the Chris Sales, right?
Yeah.
That hypothetical has been DFA'd, right? Jacob deGrom doesn't look like it's happening. I'm holding out for Nathan Eovaldi still, but again, Kevin, I'm in agreement with you. But the reason why my power ranking probably starts at bullpen is because I don't think there is that top-notch cream of the crop pitcher out there. I don't buy the Sandy Alcantara. You can bring him over and just turn him around, right? I like a Nathan Eovaldi, but I don't know if he is that difference maker. So to stick with the Nationals, I said it before, I like this guy a lot. I'd go out, I'd get Kyle Finnegan. He's a free agent. I don't think he'll cost you much, and immediately he shortens the game. Because at the very least, if you want to play the game, and Kevin, you said it, if we're going to go pitching for pitching in the playoffs, right? And if you want to say the Phillies have the advantage, the Brewers have the advantage, you think the Dodgers have the advantage, I'm not quite so sure about that. But at the very least, man, let's start shortening the game and eating up some outs. So I would probably go bullpen first, to be honest with you. Starting pitching second, because you may have to kind of eat around the edges on that a little bit more. You know, would a Seth Lugo shake free from Kansas City? I'm not really sure, but maybe a guy that can eat innings to help you kind of get through towards the end of the season. And then in third is third base for me still. I mean, I get it with Matt Shaw, but still the run prevention, I still like that a whole lot. His swing drives me nuts, but those are just my power rankings right now. Of third base, I think we can get away with. I think we need more pitching.
The Cubs have been so good at finding bullpen guys, though. That's why I'd only push back on that, because I think that there's going to be
lesser names.
There's going to be some guys that they're going to be able to find and flip, and there's still some guys in AAA that are, you know, Luke Little's having an excellent year in AAA. I know that's another name people are going to probably say DFA, but he started out the year really rough with control issues. He's having a really nice year. Now, is it trustworthy enough to bring up in this moment? I don't know, but I think there's enough arms that hopefully one of them can come up and stick, and I think you're seeing the fruits of Jed's labor in the offseason. The guys he's signed and the guys he's brought in that bullpen have been excellent. So that's the only reason I would label that as a lower amount of concern for me. But then again, they had an opportunity to bring in Kyle Finnegan in the offseason. They didn't do it.
And they chose not to.
And they didn't do it.
No,
so
100%.
You're right. I think
we called for him on this podcast. They probably don't subscribe to the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube page. That's a problem.
Looking at some of the best pitchers in baseball this year, Merrill Kelly has the 12th best whip in baseball this year. Walks and hits.
There's been buzz around his name for sure.
Are they gonna sell? That's the thing. And you mentioned it. The margins are so tight right now. I'm only kind of looking at the bottom feeders.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where my power ranking is coming into play here, because I'm just not gonna. I personally can't just sit around and be like, you know, let's just wait till, you know what I mean, one of these teams fall off and then they decide to sell. Like, I don't know if the Diamondbacks are going to be willing to do that. It sounds like a great idea. Eugenio Suarez, way into it, but I just don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to do it.
It's hard to make a wish list for. We see at least three different things you want to see fixed, and realistically, probably only two you have to fix. Well, one of them's going to stay whole. The problem is you don't really know who's available right now. You don't. We just don't know. I would love to sit here and give you a list of, these are the 5 guys I would target right now. But we don't know if they could be talked into DeGrom. We don't know if the Cubs would even consider DeGrom. We don't know if they'd be talked into Mackenzie Gore. I don't know if they'd trade Merrill Kelly right now. I don't know if they're going to trade Cabrera.
Mitch Keller's still on the Pirates.
But I do believe, but we do know the Pirates will be selling.
Yes, that's a team.
So,
but the list of teams that are selling are like Pirates, Rockies, White Sox,
Angels.
They're of the definite sellers. There's not like
Oakland A's,
glaring
Sacramento
targets
A's.
on those teams.
No, I do think there are some though. I think that we've heard that Luis Severino doesn't like pitching in Sacramento. listen, there's plenty of names that throw out there but you're right. I mean, we're going to have to wait another 2 weeks to really hone in on who's available. But there are definite sellers, and the Cubs, I guess at the end of the day, in games like this, will highlight it. They're going to need another big hitter, big time. I think they need a third baseman. I think it's imperative, and I think they're going to need to go and they're going to need to be more aggressive than the Yankees and Dodgers. And I think that's where we know Jed's like, we don't get into bidding wars over players. Well, you know, it's like football season right now. It's like the beginning. It's Lions season. Everybody's like, oh, we're not selling this guy. We're not trading this. There's a price for Mitch Keller. You meet it or you don't. I think he's going to get traded. He might be the best pitcher to be traded. Seth Lugo, same thing. I think Kansas City's selling. There's a price. You got to meet it.
All right, we have a super chat we're going to get to after the break that brings up another good subject. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. Maybe someone's just got a summer job. You can't find anything. What aisle is this in? What aisle is that in? Look, they might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been selling sinks yesterday. That's why Empire Today, they live and breathe flooring. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. So here's what you got to do. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code CHGO. That's right, you heard it right. $350 discount with code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/CHGO for full details.
Monarch Money is more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, your investments, and your goals. Don't just manage your money. Start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. With all your accounts, credit cards, and investments in one place, you're going to know where your money stands without the hassle. Named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app in 2025. Recommended by all kinds of people. Financial stress is one of the top reasons relationships fall apart. Monarch Money makes those conversations easier. Track shared and individual accounts, set goals together, keep money check-ins drama-free. Plus, you can even share access with your financial advisor or tax pro at no extra cost. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use the code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for the first half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code CHGO. You got to keep track of all those things being delivered to the door. How much money do you have? I don't know. There's a box showing up at the door every 5 seconds.
And finally, they're there to help.
Cubs lose 4-2 to the Twins. They've lost back-to-back games in Minnesota. They're going to lose the series. Porter Hodge to the injured list. Ethan Roberts called up to fix that today. Matt Shaw had the day off. We talked about that, and we've been trying to figure out ways that the Cubs can fix or plug some of these leaky holes in their team because they're not a perfect team. I don't know that anybody is, but they're definitely not a perfect team. We have a Toyota Super Chat from Alan B, $4.99. Toyota Super Chat, Alan says, the future of the team is more important than an attempt to make the playoffs just because we traded for a season of Kyle Tucker. I believe Alan has also suggested trading Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
To get prospects and surprise everybody, be a seller, and really stockpile things. And here's my thought. I think there are going to be more and more people that start, if this continues for 2 weeks, you know, where the Cubs play this kind of roller coaster. They have a good game. They have 2 bad games, a good game, roughly 500 baseball. I think some people will start to spark what Alan is suggesting. I'm not there because this team has been brutal the last handful of years. And I'm sick of watching non-playoff baseball in Chicago. And so they are currently in first place. I think they're still the most talented team in the division. Have the Brewers started closing the gap? Maybe. We'll find out. But you got to take a shot. I'm not saying deplete the farm system and give up everything. But you can't just give up on a season because you have some holes, because every season you're going to have some holes. And are you as good as the Dodgers? No. But the Dodgers have lost 6 straight. They're not giving up either. So figure out what's wrong. Find the right moves. Some of them might cost a lot. Some of them might not. Let's get it figured out. I don't know who the guys are, but we'll talk a lot about them over the next 3 weeks of who should the Cubs be going to get. I would almost like to see them jump the market and get a trade done before the All-Star break. Like if you're going to make a trade and you're going to trade some of these prospects that you have, because I do believe trading some of the prospects is the right move because we've been waiting for that forever. We haven't traded that many of the prospects, and they're not all going to end up here, and they're all not going to end up being major leaguers. But sooner or later, you got to trade some of them for proven major leaguers. And let's see what happens in the postseason. I'm not guaranteeing a World Series. Can we at least get a playoff run?
Yeah.
Okay, then make some moves.
Exactly, and I think what. Let's put this in perspective, right? The Cubs lost 2 games to a team that they should beat. Yes, I agree. It's frustrating. It's annoying. That shouldn't happen, but it's baseball. It does happen. The Mets are 6-14 in their last 20, and they were on top of the world the first 3 months of the year.
That's right.
The Phillies went on a 5-game losing streak, then a 4-game losing streak, then another losing streak. They're still in first place.
The Yankees are in second place.
You just said the Dodgers have been swept in 2 straight series.
Back to back.
The Cubs have not had a losing streak that surpassed what? I believe, what's their largest losing streak this year? They've been...
It's been no more
3?
than 4, right? It's got to be 3 or 4.
They don't
3 or
have
4?
any huge winning streaks. They don't have any huge losing
They
streaks.
won 5 in a row.
Even
and
when they
it.
were great, they were mostly winning series, not sweeping teams.
So the sky's not falling. Let's not jump to the conclusion of I can't even believe we have to. I understand. Listen, I understand the concept of not wanting to blow up the future for just this 1 year, but I also don't understand it because baseball is not a year-to-year league. Like, it's not like the NFL where you can go from worst to first. Like, baseball takes a long time to build the type of team that you have now. It's a multi-year process. We've undergone those years already. Why would they blow this opportunity? And they're not going to. So I know we're reading somebody's comment that, wants to know, like, hey, well, I think they have too many holes. That's fair. I understand what you're saying, but there's no way that Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins are looking at this season like that. There's no chance the Cubs are going to blow this trade deadline and not do anything or sell. They're not going to sell. They're in first place. They've had the best offense in the league. So we're in this business to make Cubs fans smarter, right? We're in this business to try to
or to make
give
me
our
smarter,
opinions and be fan, but also
Lord willing.
I'm just being as kind as I can by saying that's not going to happen. Stop talking about it. Stop considering it. It's not happening. They're not trading Kyle Tucker, for God's sakes, and they're not going to completely gut the farm system, but they are going to trade some prospects here coming up. It's going to happen. Get ready for it. It has to happen. This is the year to go for it.
Yeah, and if in 5 years you look back and go, man, they should have traded Kyle Tucker, that's okay. I saw a guy today. Is there risk in trades? Yeah, sometimes you make trades and they're just ridiculous. But also you can make trades and end up with Jake Arrieta for a bucket of baseballs, right? Sometimes you end up with Ryan Sandberg. Sometimes you end up with a lot of good moves. I saw DJ LeMahieu, former Cub, DFA'd by the Yankees today. Now, don't start with me. I am not here to tell you the Cubs should go get DJ LeMahieu. He's 36 years old now, and he's been really hurt a lot the last 2 seasons. And if you're hoping that he'd be the answer at third base, the Yankees DFA'd him with $22 million on a deal because they've said physically he's not up to the challenge of playing third base. Not at 36. So he's not your answer at third base. But is there somebody out there? I don't know. DJ LeMahieu, by the way, that trade goes down for me, I think, as the worst of the Theo Epstein Can I think of one?
Trades?
Man. I'm not talking signings, trades. That one was
that's
brutal.
bad.
It's like they got to town and they were like, well, not our guys. Well, let's just move on and see if we get some. Tyler Colvin and DJ LeMahieu for Casey Weathers and Ian Stewart, who played 55 games and they paid to go away.
Ian Stewart.
And DJ LeMahieu, this tall second baseman, he's too tall to play second base. He's too big to play. He doesn't look like a second baseman. All he did was go on to win 2 batting titles, win 4 Gold Gloves, and make 3 All-Star teams. It was a bad trade. Yeah.
Look, what I'll say to this conversation is, and Alan, man, thanks for the super chat. You've been in the comments all night long too, as well. So we highly encourage that. My only thing that I would ask is a couple things. One is when it comes to the farm system, the fridge is full. And I'm not saying that there are all products in there that you're going to eat and make a great meal out. But at some point, you're going to have to move a couple of these pieces out, right? You're going to have to move a couple of these outfielders around. So when it comes to the farm system, you also have to bank on the fact that you continue to draft well, you continue to scout well, and you replenish your own system. You can't just deplete, be empty for 6 years like the Cubs did and expect to continue to have success. So that's a fair criticism. The second one is, if you trade Kyle Tucker, you know what you're going to be doing? You're going to be looking for the next Kyle Tucker. You're going to be looking for the next left-handed power hitter who once won a Gold Glove, who has an OPS of over 900, who's on pace right now for a 7 or 8 WAR. You're always going to be looking for that guy again. You already have that guy. And then my final part about it is I understand that people always want to talk about protecting the prospects and keeping your farm system and thinking about the future. And we got all these guys coming. That's fine. But all I'd ask is that just stay consistent with it, right? We spent all this offseason talking about how Jed Hoyer might lose his job because he goes down the middle, because he middles it. He never goes all the way. We never pay for the high-priced free agent. We never go all in on our roster. And this, I promise you, is a good baseball team. I don't know how good this baseball team is, but if we don't make some moves now, that is him middling again with an opportunity to have postseason success. And if that means like trading a couple of the kids and rolling the dice on that, go for it. And honestly, pick which side. If we have depth in the farm system, we can handle losing a couple of these guys. If you don't like the depth in our farm system, then you don't think we did that great of a job anyway. So we might as well get rid of them. I'm with you, man. Let's just go for it, man. I want to see playoff baseball. I want to see the Cubs win. And it is time. I think this team can do it, and they need to act accordingly.
I wish there were bigger names and aces out there.
100%.
So I wish there was a bigger surplus. Prez says the Cubs won that trade because it allowed them to then draft ahead of the Rockies and get Chris Bryant.
That's a great
Now
comment.
that is the positive thinking that I can get on board with.
I got a headache, man. I can't. No more of this Kyle Tucker trade talk, please.
What were you talking? Now, you were saying something about a refrigerator. The fridge is full.
Yeah, in terms of prospects, in terms of outfielders.
So you got to trade a head of cabbage and a couple of plums in order to make sure that you can get a steak back.
Hey, man, if you don't put those bananas in the freezer, all of a sudden it turns into a different ball game. It just does.
But that's not true because, like what Praz says, if the bananas go bad, you can always turn them into banana bread with chocolate chips on top.
Wow. Now that's a GM thinking right now. Can Jed Hoyer make banana bread out of this situation right now?
He's made banana bread out of the bullpen.
Yeah,
he added a bunch of guys. Like I agree with that part. So maybe it isn't the big name, but every once in a while, I would agree with you guys.
I'm not DFAing
I'd like
the
to
banana
see
bread.
some of the bigger names, the big moves.
Yeah.
I would too, but I also we got a couple of minutes left here, and there's a lot of comments about Ian Happ. I swear he's like mentioned in this chat more than
Look
anybody.
up his splits in August. He'll be fine.
Dansby takes that cake.
Dansby and Ian, they seem to kind of go through. They're very streaky hitters. They're career streaky hitters, right? I think we all need to just take a breath and realize these guys will go and they will have another hot streak. Ian Happ has been the same player the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, he's probably going to win his 4th straight Gold Glove. You see the defense he's playing out there? Even the catch he made yesterday? I get it. The Dansby thing is very frustrating. I get it. The hitting with runners in scoring position, it's all frustrating. It's all valid to feel those feelings. And when those two guys are slumping at the same time, they're easy targets. Let's remember, they're streaky hitters. They're going to come back around. That's a trade deadline upgrade right there. Is if Ian and Dansby can both start hitting at the end of July and in August. Right. Look at Ian Happ in August. Right. So let's. The conversation about Ian Happ, yes, I agree. He's having a tough stretch here. He's batting .230. But again, I just have to say, let's just pump the brakes.
I say we DFA tonight's game. That's what I say. Cubs lose 4-2. Let's hope they can win one tomorrow against the Twins. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365. We'll be back with more post-game shows. We're here with you. It's for therapy. Until next time, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.